What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, buddy?
Man, I'll tell you what. We were talking about this a little bit behind the scenes, though. Isn't it nice when, like, don't get me wrong, I like interviewing people, right? But isn't it nice getting on the other side of things every now and then? You know, you don't have to run the show. You get to sit back, answer the questions, kind of get that format.
I know. We did laugh about it. He said, "What do you want to talk about?" I said, "Well, to be honest, man, I was just looking forward to just, answer some questions. Sometimes I feel like I'm driving the conversation, and it's nice to have somebody ask you questions. You know what I mean? And that goes all the way around, right? That's a strategy that goes more than what we're talking about right now. But it's nice to get asked a question every once in a while.
Right. No, I'm sure it is, man. I'm sure it is. And, we were – so with Live with Leaders, so something I'm doing new here, which don't recommend this at home, but no, it's a new thing that I've been doing with Live with Leaders, right? I'd like coming in here and not having a specific topic, or like even beforehand, we might top it up for a bit. Like, yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because a lot of times too, like we get into that format of, oh, you're coming on here, we're going to talk about this. And I'm sure that person talks about that on every single platform. I like diversifying a little bit, kind of going with the flow and seeing where we end up. So where we ended up was something that we're both currently doing, constantly doing, is finding the right talent, right? Finding the right talent and what that process looks like. So why don't you kind of talk to us a little bit about what that process looks like and some different things that you guys are doing with your hiring process?
Yeah. So, and really I posed Nick a challenge. I said, man, we have this event coming up, Agent to CEO, and there's going to be some things that we want to kind of add on to that, like Voltron, you know what I mean? And then we'll have something coming out of that. And I said, wouldn't it be awesome if you took all your expertise with content? And I know we're doing some stuff that's consumer facing and agent facing, but what about a strategy to attract the right talent? You know, no matter what your hiring needs are, an ISA, an administrative assistant, your next rock star agent, your transaction coordinator, whatever. And so he said, who would that be? What would we be hiring for? And that's when we talked about, well, it could be with anybody, because we would probably follow, the A-player strategy, which is smart, hungry, humble. And if we could create a content pathway that would cause those people to consume it, then we'd know, boom, there's my people. It doesn't matter what the position is. At least I have a stockpile of those people that are A players, right? Yeah.
No, man, you're 100% right. And I want to give a shout out to someone that's been with us since the beginning of what we started, who is the absolute definition of an 18 player, my man, Andre. And I know Andre watches these, so he'll be tuning in. Shout out to you, man. The dude, it's like, because when you find that 18 player, it's like, man, how do I find 20 more of them, right? Like, how do I find 10 more of them even? So there is a process and there is a way to go through that you can do it right. And you can kind of weed out some of the not 18 players beforehand. So talk to me a little bit. Number one, what the hell is an 18 player, Jeff? What is an 18 player, and like what are they? What are some of those characteristics?
We could go on about it forever, but I think those three things humble it up. And there's a book called Top Grading. And I can't remember now. Somebody should hit me from the back because I can't remember. But Top Grading is the book, and really you're looking for people that are smart, humble, hungry. Right. The challenge is through your recruiting process, you can't ask somebody, "Hey Nick, you smart?" Right. I mean, so you have to find exercises and pathways to put people through that reveal whether or not they have that or not. We were just talking about, we have a list of core values for NAEA, Kid to Reach coaching, and the entire business tree. And so when we're hiring, there's certain questions we ask that align back to those core values. And questions, for example, could be like, what's one victory that you had accomplishing something at work in the past? Or, what's a situation in which you received criticism from your management, and how did you apply that criticism? What's the last book you read? Our last one is, if you had all the money in the world and time was no object, money was no object, what would you do? That's always one at the end. It's fun. But we'll ask these questions, and we're listening to the answers in the context of the answers, not so much the words, right? Because that tells me whether or not they kind of match that smart, humble, hungry. There's another question I can't remember, but it really relates to working with a team, and that helps me understand whether I'm talking to somebody who has humility or not. If there's a lot of I did this, I did that, versus I was on a team and I helped the team accomplish this, and those kind of things. So my suggestion there is in your interview process, create questions that will help you determine if you're talking to somebody who is smart, humble, and hungry. Yeah. And you can come up with creative ways to do that.
Yeah, and like you were saying too, the criticism part, I think everybody thinks they take criticism well, right? Like at some point, like, yeah, no, I take criticism well. But so here's a little pro tip that I would always do, and I still do in my interviewing process. So if you're listening and you want to get interviewed, here you go. You're going to know it's going to happen. So what we would do is I would disagree with them on a certain subject, whether we were going through a part of like a role playing, whether we're going through part of like what we were discussing back and forth. I always made sure I disagreed with them on something and then seeing how they reacted to it, right? Because if you disagree with them and they're like, wait, what do you mean? Like, you're not supposed to do that, X, Y, Z. Then I know right away they're not very coachable. And if you're not coachable, we always say we'll either coach you up or we'll coach you out, right? So I always made it a point, disagree with them on something, see how they react real time. This isn't something you have time to think about. See how they react and go from there. And it's funny, you're going through these questions. I'm starting to really figure out when I was at the call center, where we got these questions from. And I'm pretty sure there was someone, either we read the same book or we're using some of the same process there.
Yeah, definitely. We got it, from top grading. And so, I'm sure if you guys didn't take some of what we had, you found it from the same source, which is a damn good source.
Right.
And I think, really, if I could sum it up, it's constructive and revealing dialogue. Right. I mean, so many times, and I owned several businesses in my 20s and 30s, and I would interview people and like, it wasn't constructive and revealing dialogue. It was like, so your resume says you were here.
Right.
Tell me about that. Well, you bounced around a lot. What's up with that? Or whatever, it just wasn't, I wasn't going deep and thinking, because I wasn't at that time thinking about this person has to align to the core values. There's a difference because what I'm hiring for, like the Navy SEALs, is more based on your trust points than your performance points. Right. I've had top performers and they're gone in 2 months and they left a cancer in the sales floor. Right. And they brought in a bunch of money real quickly. But dude, I had to pay for that, calling clients back saying, oh, I'm sorry, you were promised something that was outlandish, whatever. And so, rather than looking for performance, I'm looking for that person that I can trust. There's a great saying in the book I listened to, man, I can trust you with my life, but what about my money and my wife?
Man, that is gold. Wow. Hold on. Say that again for the people who are just tuning in here. Say it one more time.
I can trust you with my life, but what about my money and my wife?
Woo, that is good, man. That is, wow. That's a whole nother way of thinking it. That's like, there's levels to trust. Right? There's levels to trust, especially when it comes to representing your business, because that's what a lot of these positions do. They represent your business, who your employees are, who your recruits are, who your agents are. They represent yourself, this brand. Like we talk about brand building all the time, right? It's not just you that represents your brand. You have everybody else that's underneath you, that's with you, that's partnered with or above you. They represent the same brand. And something that you touch on, which I think is overlooked in the hiring process. And I know I was talking to some of these other top people. This is something they go through every time. The core values. First of all, when we're saying core values, Jeff, for those of the people out there that don't exactly know what core values are, why don't you tell us what they are and tell us a couple of your guys' core values?
So let me see. I would sum it up as easily as, it starts with, in a great book that kind of breaks some of this down. Actually, I just finished listening to it, so it's in my memory. But The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And so it starts with a just cause. Let's say that my just cause, some people might call it their purpose, their mission, whatever.
Why,
exactly. So let's say my just cause was to create a home buying experience that ranked at a level and was more memorable than any other that's ever been had before. If that was my just cause. Yeah. Right? So now my core values, I would reverse engineer kind of from my just cause. So let's say that I'm headed towards my just cause. What values would I have to embody to attain that just cause? By the way, the best just cause you can never attain. I can never attain that, what I just said. There is no end. It's not $1 million. That's not a just cause, right?
Yeah.
And so actually a great just cause is one that you could never attain, like creating the most memorable home buying experience that's ever been created. I mean, I can't ever win that. It just keeps growing, keeps going.
Because you can keep topping yourself in that sense too. Yeah.
100%. And so the games keep the game going, not to win the game. The game's to keep the game going.
Man, dropping some quotes on us today.
And so, well, I had a couple minutes to prepare.
Right.
No, but so yeah, those core values are. So in that example, if I wanted to create the most memorable experience, then what would I need to do? I would need to strive to differentiate myself. So one of my core values would be differentiation. If I wanted to do that most memorable home buying experience, then I would need to care about my clients. So so that would be one of our core values. We care more. That would be one of our core values, right? And so if one of my core values is we care more, then in that interview process, I can ask a question that gives me an example of what their empathy level is, right?
Right. Well, and I think that's crucial too, because I know that core values are a big part about what we do. So give me some examples. Like what are your guys' core values? What are some of those things that you guys have?
I'll give you two of our core values. One is open and real.
Yeah.
Open and real. And so, what that really means is that we believe in open communication and giving the real truth to our teammates.
Right.
And so, sometimes that means it'll sound like, hey, Nick, man, just 100% open and real, dude. Yeah. I got to talk to you about X, Y, and Z or whatever.
You got to lose the hat. Open and real.
100% open and real. Yeah.
Right. Open and real. It's just not working for me, dog.
So that's one. And then another one that everybody always likes in the interview process is, the reason I ask you that question is because one of our core values is called get shit done.
Yeah.
And we believe in team players that have the ability to get shit done. Right. Yeah. So that's another one of our core values.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's huge to know your core values. It gives you something to lean by. And on top of that, too, going over your core values in this process so people know, like, when it's happening. I know 100-0, that's something I think will always be one of mine, always on my wrist, too. Thank you, Al Stasek, for introducing 100-0 into not only my business, but my life. Great.
That's one of ours, too. That is one of ours, too. That's the third one.
And, man, I'll tell you what, when you embrace your core values, 100% accountability, zero excuses, and other things like that, I could be at work and I'll just look at someone, they're telling me something like, hey, 100-0. Like, shit, you're right. Nope, I just didn't get it done. Like at the end of the day, you can always refer back to your core values. When you're running your business right, you hire people by your core values. And here's the bigger part. You fire people by your core values, right? If you're not in alignment, like you were saying, some of these top players, they probably weren't in alignment with their core values. I'm not saying all top players aren't, but the ones that produce that cancer, if we really took a deep dive and looked at it, you'd be like, they weren't a core value fit from the beginning, right? And a lot of times it does come back to that where you might think that, okay, they make a lot of money, they're a top producer, but they might not be in alignment with all my core values, but, they're good enough. Never works out. I've never seen a situation like that where it works out in the end for both parties.
No, it doesn't. And back in the day, before I knew better, I used to refer to it as hiring out of need rather than want. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, man, I need to get somebody. And so you hire out of need, and you're never making a good decision when you're hiring out of need, right?
Right.
And I think what it really does, man, is it gives you a framework to make decisions. Because instead of trying to decide whether I should do it, shouldn't I do it, just go, does it match my core value? Is it aligned to and it gives everybody in the organization freedom. From the CEO, CEO is making decisions based on whether or not it's aligned with the just cause and the core values, and everybody else down the line. So it makes everything easier, right? What should I do? I don't know. Look at your core values. Do what matches that. Man,
and I will say this too. I always hate to think of it this way too, but I check people's social media now. I have to know, what the hell are you posting? What do you like? That's a great way to see, like, what do you have going on? And I'm not saying check it for, like, political reasons or anything like that. You can believe whatever you want on that facet. But there are some things out there where it's like, okay, if this is your thought process, you think, like, yeah, this is a great idea. I have to know what you think great ideas are. I have to know, like, what you're posting out here, what you're doing, these things. Because, again, that person's brand, even if they're an admin and you think people might not check it, they represent you. They represent your company. I know people recently that have gotten fired over some of their remarks, and justifiably so, right? But doing a quick just recon, like, what are they posting? What are they putting out here? I'm not saying going back 15 years because I'd be about 10 and you're judging me based on what I posted on Facebook then.
If you found my MySpace page, maybe I might.
If you found my MySpace page, judge me on that. I got some good content on there, man. My top 5 songs on MySpace, man, let me tell you. But that's the thing. Like, you got to understand that they're representing your company in one facet or another. That, and I'm not saying that like to do it to cover your butt. You do that because if it's not in alignment with your core values, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you internally. Yeah.
Because if my just cause is to create that memorable experience, this person puts that at risk.
Yeah.
Right. This person could potentially. So why would I, if I'm focused on and making decisions based on that just cause and those core values, then why would I do that? That's the safety net to keep me from doing that. And you know, you're right, man. These social media profiles, dude. I mean, you can see, like, obviously, this person is going to have a hard time showing up at work, probably, because they're posting out at the doing whatever. I mean, just you're absolutely right. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I got some crazy posts, and I still show up. I get what you're saying, though. I do get what you're saying. I don't say that I show up. That's all I know.
You're right. Well, you know, you're not the norm. You know what I mean? I play the odds.
No, you're right. You're right. If you're an odds man, I'm not your guy for that one. No, but
but you know what I mean? If I see somebody who's doing nothing but partying and drinking all the time, or never, you know, there's no professional. I see other people that aren't even like, they're not even in business, but they post inspirational stuff all the time. It's like, that's obviously them. They're not like, you know, part of some organization that promotes it. That's just them.
Well, it shows what they value more than anything, right? Because
that's good
out there. Because I'm not saying like your image is everything, but it's like, what do you value? A lot of times what you post, it's something that you value, something that even subconsciously that you're thinking. So if you're subconsciously only thinking about going out and partying all the time, guess what? Your focus isn't going to be on the work. Your focus isn't going to be here. When it comes down to it, make it or break it, I got a big meeting in the morning. I got a big thing to do in the morning, but I also want to go out. You're probably going to choose going out, right?
Yeah. And like you said, hey man, I was told you, if you want to fly with the eagles, you rise with the whatever it was. I couldn't remember, but that's what
you're pulling quotes out of everywhere right now.
That's the guy, Scott Riggs, back in the day, used to tell me when I was like a young guy on the brokerage floor, but we'd be out all the time, and I would sleep at the office. So I'm with you, dude. You got to be there. But yeah, it is, man. It's a window to what people value. It's a really good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
And the other thing I know that we talked about before jumping on, man, that I wanted to get to was the fact that we get people on camera, right?
Yeah. No. Well, yeah, dive into that a little bit.
Well, that's just a game changer. I know you were talking about Veronica, who's doing that, and so we're doing the same thing. You know, we're doing some hiring for a few agents across the country, trying to find them an ISA, and different people to onboard to their team. And so we've transitioned for a lot of reasons, obviously, but transitioned to doing it virtual now. And so I send them a Zoom link with no hesitancy at all and no bashment about it. I'm on camera, and like if they're not on camera, I say, "Do you mind turning your camera on?"
Right.
And we get on camera and we have a great dialogue, and then I'm able to send the recording of that so easily to whoever the agent is, and it's just priceless. I can see I can just see their mannerisms. I can see everything. And man, I'll tell you, one day I asked this guy one question, literally one question, and I just sat back for 45 minutes, and he just went on. I asked him one question.
You're like, hey, dog, I'm not going to send you this recording.
I sent him the email. I said, "Hey, this is a great example of what not to do."
Right.
I asked this guy one question, and he just went on and on and on and on.
And especially if you're an ISA, what you're supposed to do is get other people to do that, right? You don't want to be interesting. You want to be interested. So, like, if you're sitting there and I know from like the ISA process, we have those guys too, where it's like, you know, you're supposed to get the appointment with them and ask them questions, right? Like, this is you come here to tell me your life story, man.
If I just talk to them long enough, Nick, I imagine they'll ask me to sit down with them.
Right. All right. I'll meet your guy. Just stop talking. Right. Don't recommend that, by the way. Don't recommend it.
Getting on camera is a game changer. And you know what, man? It's a way to eliminate this distance. You know, you hear all this stuff about social distance. There's an old-time sales guy named J. Douglas Edwards, and he had a thing that I heard one time, and this was like in the 50s when he said this. And it was a game changer then, but he's like, you know, people always, what's one of the excuses you get? Well, you know, you're too far away. He was talking about, let's say that I'm in Texas and you're in Ohio, and we're trying to do business together.
Yeah.
And people say, well, if you were just here, you know, it'd be different. If you were just here, if Jeff, you know, it'd be different. We could sit down and talk. And he talks about what the reality is that's bullshit, because today you can get on a plane in about 3 hours, be anywhere in the country. And so you can eliminate that distance factor right? You could have 50 years ago. No problem. I'll hop on a plane. I'll see you tomorrow. Now what's the issue?
I'll see you later today. Like,
I'll see you later today.
Right.
If that's all it takes, if that's the only thing standing between you and I doing business, I'll hop on the plane right now. Should I buy my ticket?
Yeah. So now you're going to uncover what that real why is.
What the real why is. Yeah. And so let's talk about now today. We have people that you can't go out and you can't meet clients. You can't sit down and do a formal listing presentation. Right. Well, just like the plane changed the game when it came to eliminating distance, social media and the virtual tools do that now. So get socially distant as in get close. And going back to your what you post online is that you don't need to be. They should call it physical distance. I don't know why they call it social distance, because we can be plenty social as we are right now, and as we are on our social media profiles. And so these days more than ever, people are probably going to spend some time checking out your profile and stuff, because what else they got to do? And you're interacting with each other so much through this interface anyhow.
Yeah, and more people go. By the way, guys, there's a great stat. I want to say it was like 68% people check your social media before they Google you. They check your social media first, guys. So it's like, what are you posting on there? Is it you on there even? Right? I'm all for sharing great content, but here's the thing. If I only share content, you're never going to see me. You're never going to get that touch to it, right? So we got some time. We got a little bit more time here. I want to talk about agent to CEO, which is I'm super excited to it. I'm super excited to be a part of it too, with what you guys have going on. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about what is agent to CEO? What should people expect?
Yeah, well, we're super excited to have you, Michael, and your whole team involved in it as well. Physical distance, boom. Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Man, finale knows physical distance. Yes, huge difference, huge.
So, man, agent to CEO. So let me tell you who it's not for. It's not for a brand new agent. Okay. Right? It's not for a brand new agent. If you're probably, if you're not doing more than 10 deals a year, this would not be for you. It would tell you it'd be, too much. But you did great candidate for Expert Advisor Bootcamp and our buying and listing training. So this is for agents who have had some success already. Most of the agents that attend this event are where the last year, maybe 2 years, they've really had a hard time increasing their sales from where they were the year before, right? And so maybe they're at 35, 40 transactions. They're on pace to do, if they're lucky, maybe the same this year, although a lot of people are doing more, but they're just having a hard time going from 35 to 40 to 75, right? And they can't really see how they would do it without having to work a whole hell of a lot more, or, make some decisions that might not be financially wise and so on. So the same thing that Jay and Michael and everybody here at NAE and Kinder Reese Coaching and all of our businesses, the same thing that we went through when we scaled up. At one time, being a $10 million coaching company, started by two guys who, were real estate agents. There's some learning that needs to go on. Right. And so in large part to what they learned, we adapted all those systems. And these came from people like Vern Harnish, Dan Kennedy. These are the mentors and the leaders that people like a Bill Gates would go to if they wanted to really scale up their business back 30 years ago. You'd sit down with Vern Harnish, for instance. And so all of those that really exercises and customized templates and a system to go through. It's not just listening. I mean, it's templates. There's over 25 or 30 different templates and stuff that you're going to go through exercises. Yeah. Right. And then as you go through them, everybody's is different, and it helps you create a customized plan to scale your business. And I think, so the differences are like, if you're an agent who's busy, like you're an agent who's doing right now, you're killing it, right? You're killing it. But you might be working all the time. Right. You're busy all the time. Right. You're tired all the time. You're stressed all the time. Yeah. Right. I mean, we all feel like that sometimes. Now, think about, on the other hand, if you were a CEO who gets the rewards, but the responsibilities, but you get the rewards of that, then instead of working, you're growing. Right. Instead of being busy, you're efficient. Instead of being tired, you're excited. Instead of being stressed, you're relieved. And all this happens by kind of going through a process where you focus in on what you should really be spending your time on, right? And then getting a team of people that you can delegate those other activities that need to take place, but they don't represent the best use of your time, because your time needs to be spent on growing the organization, right? And I can't be, the analogy is, if you're a captain of a ship sailing across the ocean, right? My job is to be on deck at the helm, steering this wheel, getting us to where we're going.
Right.
My job is to not to run off deck and go down in the bottom of the ship and start tinkering around with the engine.
Yep.
As much as I might be great at tinkering around with the engine, because you know the thing, if you want to do it right, you got to do it yourself. So I'm going to leave the helm of the ship.
Right.
Now, nobody's steering it, and I'm going to go down into the bowels of the engine and tinker around with the engine.
Yep.
That's the wrong, right? But yet that's what we all do, man. Let's face it. Right. That's what we all do.
It is.
Right? I mean, let me jump on the phone. Here, let me do it. No, I got it.
It's a habit though, too. You know, if you don't know better, if you're not trained to do better, if you don't have the right systems in place, you're not going to feel like, what was the book called? Traction, letting go of the vine, right? If you don't have the right systems in place, it's really hard to let go of the vine and have someone else do it. If you don't have the right processes in place, it's really hard to let go of the vine and someone else do it. Because if you can plug somebody into a process in a system, and here's what I'll tell you, y'all might hate to hear it, but there's somebody out there that can do that specific thing better than you. You might not want to believe it. But there's somebody out there that can do, I'm not saying do everything you do, but that one system you need filled in, there's somebody out there that can do it better and can do it more efficiently. And they might even like doing it. Right? I might be good at it. Doesn't mean I like doing it. So I'm going to find someone who likes doing it. I can plug in a system and I can let go of the vine, free up my time, just like you're saying.
Man, that's a really good point. You know, as real estate agents, entrepreneurs, I mean, everybody's good at a lot of things, and that's a downfall because I'm good at it doesn't mean I should be doing it. The fact that I do things that I'm good at, it's probably that the threat is I might gravitate towards doing those things. Why wouldn't I want to? Because I'm good at it. But it's actually a weakness because I should maybe be working on the things that I'm not good at, number one. And maybe there's other things that would help grow the business, towards the just cause. Yeah. Now I can get down in the engine and maybe affect performance in the short term. Right. But I'm going to sacrifice the long term to do so. And so that's really a leader. Like the leader doesn't go down in the ship. The leader makes sure that the person that he has in the engine room is equipped and smart enough to take care of it. And I trust that person because they're an A player, right? Yep. And I'm going to stay right here and do my part. And so Agent the CEO gives you the systems and the processes and the leadership skills to get that in place.
Where do they go to get it? Where do they go to sign up for Agent to CEO? Because it's virtual now this time, right?
It's virtual. It's virtually unprecedented. It's agenttoceolive.com.
Agenttoceolive.com. Well, go ahead. I'll throw that in the comments here for us. Agenttoceolive.com. And like we said, we're partnering with you guys. We're sponsoring this one. I'm super excited to be a part of this. I know you guys. This was one of those events when people came back from, they were just like, wow. I know because like in person, when in virtual, we're going to be able to reach a larger audience, which is awesome. But when they came back for it, their mind was blown away. They thought about business in a whole nother way. When you can open up some of those doors that you didn't even know you had, and then you think about things differently. All of a sudden you realize it's a business. I can run. It was truly amazing, the feedback I heard.
I can run it. It don't have to run me. It's not a hobby. It's not a home business. I can run this shit like Apple. I can run this shit like Uber. Yeah. And the CEO of Uber ain't driving a car. Why are you doing what you're doing? I'm just saying.
Jeff, all I gotta say is, if y'all didn't see this whole thing, you guys got to go back and watch this. Jeff has been laying down some quotes, some sayings that are just blowing me away right now. Literally blow me away, dude. You got some fire just in those alone. But guys, agenttoceolive.com. Go there. Make sure you want to be here for this. You want to be a part of it.
100%, man. Like I said earlier, I had several businesses in my 20s and 30s and had no clue about the framework that exists to actually guarantee yourself, like, to have success and not be bogged down in the tactics all the time, man. You got to get tactical to get there, but then you want to be strategic, and that's next level. So, man, I'm excited to have you guys a part of it. July 27th, 28th.
July 27th, 28th, agenttoceolive.com. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on.
Man, I love it.
Yeah.